everyone, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new. Today we're going to be talking about the books that I read in February. Okay, so February was a bit of a mixed bag for me. I read 6 books, which seems like it would be a good reading month, and honestly, I liked them. Like, the majority of them were really good, but I DNF'd 6 books this month, and that's a crazy amount. What did I learn from that? What I learned from that was that I need to borrow a sample or read the sample of books before borrowing them from my library. The 2 books that I DNF'd that I mentioned in my February TBR video, if you missed that one, I'll put it in the cards or in the description. Those 2 books were this one, which is Beyond the Shadowed Earth. I am this far into it. I'm not sure if I'm going to finish it or not. We will see. But basically I just have other books that I'm enjoying a lot more. What's really funny about this is that I was like, man, this main character kind of sucks. And so I went to look on Goodreads to see like if other reviews said the same thing, which I usually don't do in the middle of reading a book, but I did. And I found out that that's actually a sequel. Really? It's a sequel. So, I didn't read the first one. I didn't realize that was the second book. There's nothing on it that indicates that it's the second book. But, basically it said that you can read that book without reading the first one, which I was like, okay. Because that book is about the villain from the first book. So I was like, no wonder this main character sucks. She's the villain. It's the villain origin story. Yeah. So that was kind of a funny realization to have. I don't know if I'll finish it. We will see if I read it in March. Probably not, but we'll see. The other book that I mentioned in my February TBR video that I did not finish was The City We Became by N.K. Jemisin. I literally read like 2 pages of this and immediately knew that it was not going to be for me. Listen. I don't mind a little bit of swearing. A few swear words here or there, I'm like, yeah, okay. Whatever. I usually don't pay a ton of attention to it. Not that big of a deal. But this book literally said the F word like 4 times in the first 2 pages. And that just seems excessive to me. Like, that's a lot. That's not something that I want to read. It has a very negative tone. So, yeah. Also, that book is like described as a love letter to New York City, which I didn't realize before I picked it up, and I've never been to New York City. Like, I think it would be cool to go there. I wouldn't say no to going there, but I haven't been there, so I just don't think I was really the target audience for that book. So yeah. I don't even remember, honestly, the other ones that I didn't finish. Some of them I got like only a few pages into, some of them I got a few chapters into, some of them I got like maybe 30 or 40% into. But basically, I just didn't finish a bunch of books this month. But the reason that we're here, or the reason you clicked on this video, was to talk about the books that I did finish. So let's get to that. The first kind of 3 books that I read were the Sisters Grimm 2nd, 3rd, and 4th book. I'm not going to talk about it here in depth because I will be making a whole video about rereading this series because it's a childhood favorite. So just stay tuned for that. Subscribe so that you don't miss it. So yeah, I'm not going to talk about it in depth because I will talk about it in depth there. The next book that I read was A Botanist's Guide to Parties and Poisons by Kate Kavari. I gave this book 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. Basically, we are in London, 1923. We're following this girl named Saffron, which is fitting because, you know, plants. And she works for the University College of London, and she goes to a dinner party, and it's like about this expedition that they're going to do in the Amazon, and then there's an attempted murder on one of the guy's wives. And so she's like, hold up, this lady almost got murdered, and then, lo and behold, her mentor is the main suspect and gets arrested. So she's trying to clear his name, trying to solve the mystery, figure out who was trying to kill this person, why they were trying to kill her, how they were going to do it, like if the poison was from a plant or whatever. And she works with this guy named Alexander Ashton, and they have like a little bit of a romance. But yeah, I really liked this book. I liked the mystery. I thought it was super fun. It's kind of like a cozy mystery vibe, and the romance was cute and it was clean, which I really appreciate. If you've been around here, you know that I don't like any type of spice in my books. I'm not that type of girly, so I really appreciated that this was a clean book. So yeah, that's one that I really, really enjoyed. Gave it 4 stars. Would recommend. The next book that I read was Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel. I absolutely loved this book. I gave it 5 stars. So far, every book that I've read by her, I've given 5 stars, which is only 2 books, but like, that's pretty good, right? And spoiler alert, I'm reading another one by her right now. Basically, we are following this group of people who are living in this kind of like post-apocalyptic setting, which also, by the way, I really like the word apocalyptic. I think it's a good word. Anyway, they're living in this setting. It's after a very large pandemic, which her other book that I have read, Sea of Tranquility, is also about a pandemic. So that's interesting. Anyway, so you're kind of following them, and you're seeing how all of these people connect together and how they react differently to this pandemic, how it has affected each of them, what society looks like throughout the United States and Canada. And I just thought that it was really, really interesting. One of the like main conflicts in this book is this cult leader who calls himself the Prophet and is like saying that the reason that they have survived this pandemic is because they were like holier than other people, and I think that that's an interesting topic of discussion. But yeah, I absolutely love the way that Emily St. John Mandel writes her characters, and I love how she brings everybody together and how they're all connected somehow, and you learn it throughout the book. I really, really love how she weaves characters together, and each of these characters really feels like their own human being. Like, they feel like a really well fleshed out character, which is something that I kind of struggled with in the next book that I read. Really? Which was The Gilded Wolves by Roshani Chokshi. I gave this book 3 stars, maybe 3.5. I thought it was interesting. Basically, this is about a group of people who are trying to do a heist. It's like a fantasy heist novel. So you're following this like wealthy hotel owner named Severon, and like a bunch of people that he's helped and are kind of like indebted to him, but then they're all pals. And basically it's like this, in this fantasy world, we're set in France in 1889, and this book basically is that the Tower of Babel, when it collapsed, the Babel pieces were spread, and there's a thing called the Order of Babel, and they have the ability to what they call forge, and it's like this magical power that they have, and they have it over like various elements and stuff, and so those people are really powerful, and they kicked out this main character, Severon, and he's trying to get back in and get to a place of power, and he has to do that through a heist. What I didn't like about this is that number one, there wasn't enough heisting. Like, it says it's a heist novel, and you like kind of vaguely get the plans, but then the action scenes are really short, and it's like, I thought that was going to be really difficult, and it's mostly just like them talking. But like I said a minute ago, what I didn't like about it was that their characters seem really two-dimensional, and like they're not really well fleshed out characters. And something that kind of is like the only word I can think of is bugaboo. That's a silly word though. Pet peeve. That's a better word. A pet peeve of mine is when there's like token diversity. I think it's so awesome to have diversity in books, but if it is more of token diversity where diversity is just thrown in to say, hey, this is a diverse book, which I'm sure this author was not trying to like only have token diversity, but that's how it felt to me personally, because these characters seemed kind of two-dimensional, and it seemed like some of those diverse qualities were just thrown in to be in and not really like to make a three-dimensional character. So that's just something that kind of bugged me. But there were a few characters that I did really like. I listened to this one on audio, which I kind of struggle with audiobooks. Sometimes I really like them, sometimes I don't like them at all, and I'm still trying to figure out what type of audiobooks work for me. And I did not like the male narrator of this audiobook at all. It was like he was so monotonous and it was boring to listen to, and I listened to it on like 2.75 speed and it still just sounded like a newscaster reading news to me. And so it just seemed kind of boring to me personally. So yeah, that was my most recent read, the last one that I read this month. Again, it was kind of a mixed bag. I'm really hoping for a better reading month in March, but here's the thing. I think February is the worst month of the year. Comment and tell me if you agree with me. Because, I mean, that could be because I live in Idaho and it's dark and it's cold. But it just, like, there's nothing to look forward to in February. And so I don't like February anyway, so I'm not surprised that this month was kind of a mixed bag for reading for me. But I'm hoping March will be better. So, with all of that being said, tell me how your month was. Did you have a good reading month? What did you read? Have you read any of these books? Do you agree with me? Do you not agree with me? What books do you want to read in March? If you haven't seen, I made a March TBR video, so check that out. I think that's it. So I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!